Alright, welcome back to our playthrough of Mice and Mystics. We are entering Chapter 4, which is entitled The Forging of the Beast. And what's going on in this chapter is basically the mice are going into the castle to try to reconnoiter what they have learned is an emerging threat. If you recall, what we did in Chapter 3, among other things, was discover that Venestra, in seeking to start a war between the kingdom and its neighbor, one of the things she was going to be using was this big, ugly, mechanical monstrosity that people are seeing in their visions and so forth. And so the mice are going to be heading down into the forge to try to figure out what they're dealing with, maybe identify a weakness, and so on and so forth. So this chapter involves them trying to battle their way into the forge so they can see what the heck this thing is. And what's really important to know about this chapter is this is one of the ones that is going to involve all 6 mice. And those 6 mice are going to be divided up ultimately into 2 teams. So you're going to start on one tile, you're going to split up into 2 different teams and make your way to the forge via a couple of different routes. And you're going to link up, at least hopefully, link up in the forge with the 2 teams once again. Now there are some special mechanics that are going to come up as a result of this, but essentially your victory condition is going to be you defeat all the minions on the forge before you run out of time. And your defeat is you run out of time, or either of the 2 groups of mice are captured to a man. So you're going to have 2 three mouse teams. You can have 4 mice captured as long as they're split up among the 2 parties. If either one team is captured in whole, it's game over. You start on page 6. There's a place or 2 where you can bump that up and get a little bit of extra time, which you might need because with 6 mice, as you might imagine, there's going to be that many more encounters and therefore that many opportunities for the enemies to be rolling cheese and so forth. As such, you're going to be having that many more surges, that many more places where the chapters are going to be bumping up. You're going to be having 3 mouse teams facing the usual encounters as opposed to 4 mice teams, thus increasing the odds that you're going to get overwhelmed and maybe get a person captured and so on and so forth. So not necessarily the easiest chapter in the game, although I, on balance, find it easier than Chapter 3. The other condition here is that the 6 mice have to be split up in a very specific way. You're going to have Nez on one team and Prince Collin on the other. And that is going to be really the only requirement. You can split them up otherwise. But this is one of the reasons why, going into the early stages of the campaign, you might consider giving Nez or somebody else the first aid ability, so that if, for instance, you don't have to, but if, for instance, you send Tilda with Collin, then the other group, well, basically whichever group doesn't have Tilda, is going to need some healing. So it's a good idea to make sure that you pay attention to that. You give somebody else other than Tilda the healing, the first aid ability in the first place, and then when you're figuring out who's going with whom, you're going to need to decide that, to make sure that they go wherever Tilda isn't going, so that you have a little bit of healing in both parties at the very least. The reason why you might want to send Tilda with Collin is you are guaranteed to be facing a couple of spiders in the very first room that team is going into on their own. So given that she has the cure ability, that's usually a deciding factor for me. So that's one reason to maybe give Nez, because he's obviously going to be on the opposite team. All right, you're going to be using standard encounter difficulty cards. You're not going to be using the difficult encounter cards, but bear in mind once again that normally you're facing those cards with 4 mice, and each of these teams has only 3 mice. You are going to have a tile set up as such, and you're going to have one team going this way into the forge, the other team going this way into the forge. That's pretty much how it is. But one thing to bear in mind, and this is important, is Collin and his team are going to go here, then they're going to go down, and then they're going to bop over into the forge. So after the first room, where everybody's together, they're going to go through 1, 2, and then 3 tiles, the last one being the forge. Nez's team is going to go downstairs from the alchemist chamber. That's 1 tile. Then they're going to bop over here to the sewers. That's 2 tiles. Then they're going to bop to the flip space and go up into the pipes. That's 3 tiles. And then 4 tiles onto the forge. So one thing to bear in mind, Collin, you probably want to have Tilda, but Nez and party are going to be having 4 tiles to Collin's 3. So that's the other side of that coin. If you send Tilda with Collin, and she's your best healer, you might want to make sure some of your stronger mice, if you have any favorites, are going this way to try to help Nez out a little bit, because he's only going to have that first aid ability to keep you alive through 4 tiles, whereas Collin's going through 3. So another thing to bear in mind. When it comes to the special rooms and special setups for each one of the tiles, we'll deal with them as they come up. I don't want to tarry too long here. Let's dive into the castle. Let's get down to the forge, and let's see what this evil witch is up to. Alright, so the first tile in the game has a special setup, and as such you're going to begin with all of the 6 mice that are involved in the chapter. They're all going to be up on the table in the alchemist chamber, and then it says place 5 rat warriors normally following the rules. And again, the rules for small melee minions is spread them out as much as you can on the available minion entry spaces. That's a little bit weird, but on the table is a minion entry space, and it's technically available because you can have any number of figures up on the table. There's no upper limit, and as such it seems like that is a legal place to be placing a rat. And because you have to spread them out, I'm going to put one up there, but I'm going to choose to put the other ones down below to try to keep them a little bit further away from me, basically. But that's pretty much the setup. And again, we're going to have all 6 mice. Now, quick refresher where we stand. I have already divided the mice into 2 parties. Yeah, I guess you don't have to make that decision until after you have cleared the enemies in this tile, but you should probably go into the chapter having some kind of a plan. I am going to send Tilda along with Collin. And the reason for that is I want to have the mouse with the cure ability going with him, because he's going to face a couple of spiders right away. Now, he does have a ranged option, because the only item he was really able to take coming out of that last chapter was the throwing dagger. He could have taken the toothpick as well. I was tempted by that, but I figured him having a ranged option is kind of useful. So I gave him that. I wanted to send another ranged character with him, and really the other options are all ranged anyway. Nez has to be in the other party, so you're looking at Maginos, Filch, or Lily. I went with Lily, and really the only rationale for that is, once again, I'm guaranteed to be facing spiders, and she does have that accurate shot ability, which lets her remove 2 defense dice. And if you recall, spiders are kind of tough because they roll 3 defense dice. So it does take 2 cheese to power it, but walking into that room right off the bat, she's going to get 2 cheese from her explorer ability. So her first shot, she's rolling still only 2 attack dice, but she would be able to turn that into just 1 defense die from the spider. So that was right there kind of the rationale. I also kind of feel like she's a little bit underpowered or she will be until I get her a better weapon at least. And I feel like Collin and Tilda, especially Tilda with the warding staff, are going to be able to make up for that pretty well. And I want to have Nez have some more heavy hitters. Now, I don't normally consider Maginos a heavy hitter, but bear in mind he does have that chain lightning ability, which can potentially cause him to do a great deal of damage. I could also get him the Mystic Blast ability that could allow him to attack multiple people, and so forth. So Maginos can potentially be a pretty nasty opponent. So that right there was the rationale. you could make a case for any number of different setups, but basically we've got Collin with his usual equipment and the throwing daggers. Lily's got still that intense cowering card because she hasn't got anything better. Tilda has her warding staff. Filch has the accurate bow. Maginos is still rocking that whisker froth just in case, which is another reason to give Maginos over here. With the whisker froth, he's able to also offset the fact that Nez is our only healer and he's not great at it. And then Nez, of course, has the Thimble Helm, which is one of my favorite items for him, bumping up his defense and also obviating some of those negative search cards. So that's the party we're going to have. But in this first room, they're all in one big group. We're facing just rats. So all we really do is shuffle initiative, and away we go. Collin is going first, which is great. The rat warriors are way down here. Filch is below them, which he doesn't like. But we're going to get a lot of turns before the rats go, which is wonderful. The only downside to this is Collin is going first, so he is not gaining cheese. But I will take that any day of the week. I think we'll try to deal with these three before closing with those guys. And as a result, I think I'm just going to have Collin attack these guys right next to this guy sharing the space with him. So he's going to roll his 3 attack dice, and we'll see what happens. He's got 2 hits, and the rat blocks none of them, does not cheese the wheel. He is therefore killed, and Collin is showing us why he's the boss. Lily now will... Now these guys are not considered adjacent because they are across a red line from her. So she does not have to shoot at them first. Remember the rule for ranged. If you're adjacent or sharing a space, you have to attack that rat first. But I think with Maginos being the only... yeah, I've got Tilda and Nez who are going to be attacking these guys. They've got a pretty decent chance of killing those guys there. But I think what I'll do is I'm just going to still stick to trying to get these guys out because luck isn't always in your favor. So she's just going to roll a regular attack against one of the close guys here. She has rolled a cheese and that's it. She didn't roll any defense, which is actually bad for her again because... Well, the rats will not roll defense, which is bad for her because any cheese they did roll, she would get. But unfortunately, she did not hit. Maginos is going to try the same thing. I don't think he's going to... Yeah, what the heck. He's going to grab her cheese that she just earned. And we'll grab that from Lily. And the reason for that is he can then spend it to fire off his Mystic Bolt, so he can roll 3 dice against that guy. He does not hit, but he does roll a cheese, which gets him 2 back. So he turned that 1 cheese into 2 at least. And now Tilda is not next to those guys, so she is going to have to move. We'll see how far she can move. She can move 5. And I think in order to, again, stay away from these guys, she's going to bound down here. 1, 2, and she's just going to move into that space with them and mix it up. So she's rolling 3 attack dice. She gets 1 hit. This guy's rolling 2 defense. He doesn't block it. So she knocked him on the head. He had a bad day. Nez, though, is going to want to not be in the space. So Nez is just going to 1, 2. And stop there. Remember, going with the arrows, it's only 1 movement point. It's 3 to go against the arrow. He's going to roll 4. He does not hit. Wow. Okay, doesn't hit at all, but he did get a cheese out of it at least. And we come now to the rats. We only were able to take out 2 rats with 5 attacks, which is unfortunate. This guy is going to attack the closest, which is Tilda, which is fine because she's rolling 3 defense dice. Against his 1 hit, he did cheese the wheel 1 time. And she's defending. She blocked the heck out of it. These guys, we're going to roll to see how they move. He can only move 2 spaces closer. And this guy can only move 1. And that's why we stayed away from him. It's now Filch's turn. And Filch is going to try to get that cheese off the wheel by shooting at some rats. Now, one thing that's interesting about this is the special rules for this are as soon as the rats are killed, you move on, basically. And it says like when the last rat is taken off, place mice in certain places. We'll read those rules when we get to it, but we don't even need to worry about being close to the exits when the fight's over or anything like that. So he's just going to hang back here and fire off at the closest rat in this direction. Actually, I think I'm going to have everybody scurry over this way to again keep our distance. So he's going to see how far he can move. And we'll say 1, 2, 3, 4. And then he's going to fire at that guy. He's rolling for bows. He got 1 cheese. And he got 1 hit. We'll see what happens with this guy. He did block it, unfortunately. And that's, yeah, that'll be, I didn't mean to bring that up. That'll be Filch's turn. So we come now to Collin. And yeah, Collin's just going to come around here. And he can't fail to get 3, so he'll come over here and attack. Like so, he gets 3 hits. This guy gets only 2 defense dice. He dies, but he does cheese the wheel. Alright, and we come to Lily. She's going to shoot at that close guy before doing anything else. She gets 1 hit. He is rolling his defense. He blocks the 1 hit and rolls no cheese. So then she is also going to roll her movement. And she can only move 3, so we'll go 1, 2, and 3. Maginos will similarly try to strike that guy. Now he doesn't have any cheese anymore. No, he does have cheese, so he'll spend a cheese to roll 3 dice. And that's 1 hit, which is blocked, and the cheese wheel is cheesed. Wow, we are not having much luck so far. He can only move 3. 1, 2, and 3. It is Tilda's turn. What does Tilda want to do? I never think rather than closing with these guys, Tilda is... Yeah, Tilda is going to search and not find anything. Nez will just back off and also search. He finds something. Oops, wrong macro. You got the fish scale armor. Okay. That requires warrior or healer. All the warriors and healers have armor, but that is something that Nez can wear actually for the duration of this chapter, at least. You know, I'm going to keep that thimble helm, I think, but he can equip that actually, so he's going to do that, and he is now rolling 3 defense dice. Just like Tilda, which is wonderful. Okay. Let's see how far the rats can move. This guy can move 2. So now he can bop up onto the table, and that actually puts him, you might think, adjacent to these guys, but remember, across a red line, you're not adjacent. So he can move up there and be really close. He could move like so, arguably, and be really close, but he's still not adjacent to anybody, so it kind of doesn't matter, so I'll just leave him right here. And this guy here can move 3. 1, 2. That doesn't look like you spans that, so he's going to go here. And of those people, Lily is the first in initiative, so he will attack her, hitting twice. Lily rolls her defense, blocks nothing, and Lily has taken 2 wounds. The dice are not with us thus far, but the day is young. It is Filch's turn. He really needs to take some cheese off the wheel here, so he is going to... Let's see. Yeah, we'll start by firing at these guys. We'll fire at the guy on the floor here. And, okay, that's looking better. That is a guaranteed kill. That is 4 hits versus 2 defense dice. More importantly, he did not cheese the wheel dying. So that is a cheese to Filch, and that came off the wheel, which is very handy. And Filch now actually has enough cheese to power Energy Rush, but I've got 5 other mice that can do this, so I'm not going to push it that hard because I want to heal Lily and I want to maybe get some searches in and so forth. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have Collin search. Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to more or less bank on Nez being very likely to kill this guy, and use my other mice to try to find some gear, because I got 3 mice whose gear really isn't that great. So I'm just going to have him search. He didn't find anything. Lily is going to fall back, and no, she's not going to fall back, but she is going to search. Didn't find anything. Ugh. Maginos will search and not find anything. Tilda will move down 1. And she didn't have any cheese, so she's going to grab Filch is the only one with 2 cheese. Okay. So she's going to move here to grab the cheese from Filch. And then she will spend it to heal Lily. And then Nez will move forward 1 and swing away at the rat, hitting 3 times. The rat blocks only one of them, so we have killed the rats. Alright, so let's bop over to the rules and see what happens next. So when you clear the first row of enemies, there is a special rule listed again for the tile in question, the Alchemist Chamber, under number 2. And this basically says that after defeating all the minions on the chamber, place Nez and 2 other mice on the flip space. These mice will be Nez's party. Then place Collin and the other mice on a space adjacent to the exit leading to the King's Chamber, and that will be Collin's party. So you have Nez going one way, Collin going the other, and then you can split the mice however you like, 2 and 2, to go to the 2 teams. As we've discussed, Nez is going to go through 4 tiles, Collin only 3, but Collin also in the next chamber we know is going to face a couple of spiders right off the bat, and that tends to say you might want to send Tilda with him. Another option would be Maginos, or have Maginos give someone the Whisker Froth elixir, which he happens to have in our particular case, because Whisker Froth is an item that will cure poison as well. But bear in mind there are going to be 2 spiders. They could potentially spread poison over 2 or 3 mice in that team, and you only have the 1 use of the Whisker Froth, whereas Tilda can use cure as long as there's cheese floating around. But be that as it may, that's the choice that you're making. Collin will then use an explore action to move his party into the King's Chamber during his turn. It says continue the game starting with Prince Collin's turn. So you place the mice, as soon as the mice have cleared the chamber, you place them in these spaces, divide it up as indicated, and then you just go to Collin's turn. No matter where you are in the initiative, it's now just Collin's turn. And Collin has to use the explore action to move his party onto the King's Chamber during his turn. One of the mice from the other party will have to use his explore action to, on the flip space, to send them down below. And I think the way the reason they're doing this is if you'd kept it in regular initiative, so for instance, bopping back to the game here real quick, Nez is currently the one going next, right? So the rat warriors are gone. And Nez has finished his turn, so he can't move us on. So the next person is Filch. What if Filch is in Nez's team, and therefore Filch, because we don't want to add cheese to the wheel or something, Filch says, okay, let's go. Well, you activate the flip space. Now you've got all the mice on. You got half the mice on one side of the tile, and the other half on the top side of the tile. So just physically that complicates things. So that's, I think, why they just said basically move Collin first and put him over here. That then is going to trigger placing enemies where there are none, and therefore you're going to shuffle initiative anyway. So it's a little, it's just a way basically to move it on without confusing things too much. Okay, bopping back to the rule book. While the two mouse parties are separated, they will use the same initiative track, but for all purposes, including surges, party items, and abilities, the mice are considered two separate parties. Surges happen only if the tile only on the tile where they occurred. Party items are not shared between the two parties, and abilities that affect more than one mouse only affect mice in the same party. So if you apply something that adds defense to the and it just says to mice, to other mice or anything like that, then it's only the mice in your party. It's not going to affect mice in the other side of the map. You're also going to find party items, and normally party items can be used by anybody, but of course now you're going to have to keep track of which team has which party item until they link up again in the Forge, at which point they're no longer separate teams, they're now one big team. But that's basically it. The only other complication is surges, and again, the surge will take place on the tile in which it happens, so it's going to affect only one of the teams. But importantly, they're all on the same initiative track, and the rules for things like adding cheese to the initiative, the minion cheese wheel, right, when you're going to the end of the initiative, that rule is still in place. So the rule basically says you add cheese if you go through the initiative order and there are no enemies on the initiative track. Very cut and dry. Therefore, it is possible, potentially, if one party is fighting enemies, for the other party to be able to just kind of dawdle and search or whatever if they feel like it without any adverse consequences. That is something that is potentially exploitable in this scenario. Okay, so we know Collin is going to the space, one of the spaces next to the entrance to the King's Chamber. We know Nez is going to the flip space. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send Tilda with Collin. And then I think I'm going to send Lily with Collin. Don't have a giant reason for it other than just she tends to be, I guess my thought process is spiders here are rolling a lot of defense dice. She can prevent them from cheesing the wheel when she's shooting at them. She does have the ability that lets her subtract defense dice as well, which could help her potentially pop some of those spiders. But she's just not a massive damage dealer. Nez, Filch, and Maginos, I think, out-damage her in general. And remember, they've got to go through 4 tiles. So that's the thought process. Also, I could have potentially 4 tiles going forward, and they've all got rats on them. And that is something that Filch is going to love. Whereas Lily is only facing 3, and one of them is only spiders. So another concern there. So I'm just going to divvy it up this way. You obviously could go a lot of different ways with this, and they're all going to be perfectly fine. This is the way I'm going to go, and I'm not going to overthink it too much. But once we place those, it says that we go right to Collin. So I'm going to set his initiative. Where is it? Make current. And it says that he must, on his turn, use the Explore action. So there's really nothing else for him to do. And we have to put ourselves on a space adjacent to the exit. Or you could argue whether you can put them here, which is going to keep us away from this space where, once we look at the setup, we're going to find that there is a spider on the bed. But I'm not going to be that chintzy about it. All right, so yeah, we've moved into the King's Chamber. And the rule here, basically, there's not a lot to it. I'm not even going to bop over the rule book. We are going to start by placing a spider on the bed. So I'm going to add him to the initiative first of all. And I'm going to put that token down here. Okay, so there's a spider on the bed. That triggers a shuffling of the initiative, which puts the spider not first. It does have Collin first again, which means he's once again not getting cheese. Lily, however, has gone into a room for the first time. That therefore means she is going to get 2 cheese. I don't want to forget about that. Okay. Now the rules for this chamber are, once you kill that spider, you place another one on the bed and you continue. You don't remove that spider initiative card. You don't reshuffle or anything like that. You just replace it with another one. There's a grape you can find on the tray over here if you want it. They cannot exit into the forge directly. They need to go to the flip space to get out of here. You can climb up onto the top of the fireplace. You'll notice from there you have the little yellow lines. You can climb up onto the bed, but you have to go up onto the chest here before you hop up onto the bed from there. But generally speaking, the spiders are going to come to you pretty quick, and remember, they ignore the red lines and everything. So generally speaking, I try to stay back as much as I can, and that's another reason to have a ranged attacker if possible. Remember, Collin has those throwing daggers, which is going to help me chip away at this guy as well. The only other rule here is there is a special surge, which actually is helpful, believe it or not. And remember, special surges trump anything from encounter cards, and they recur. And the special surge here is basically if you trigger a surge on this tile, then the mice in the, basically King Endon is here on the bed, and he is clearly poisoned. They've come in here and they learn that he's poisoned. The room is crawling with spiders. That's why he's poisoned, etc. That's the story. Collin is going to have his father shift and roll a bit when the surge happens. That emboldens the party, and they each get +1 to their battle for the remainder of their time on this tile. So if you trigger a couple of surges, they can be hitting really hard and making short work of the spiders. The problem with that, of course, is if you're triggering surges on the other tile instead, you might not be triggering too many here. And of course, you don't want to trigger surges in general anyway, because your time is running out. So it's a way of giving you, I guess, a little bit of a buff when things are otherwise not going well for you. Okay, now the other mice are still on the old tile, but they're about to be moving, so I'm just going to clear the search markers from the party. They haven't done anything yet, and as a result, what is going to happen is Collin's just going to take his turn because he's going first. Now, Tilda and Lily are going after him, and they're going after the spider. That's a concern for me, and the reason is the spider is almost certainly going to be able to reach them unless he only rolls a 1. If he rolls a 2 for movement, he's going to be able to reach them and attack. Collin right now, because we lost that shield on the last chapter, is only rolling 2 dice for defense. Tilda, though, is rolling 3. So I think what I'm going to do is, believe it or not, I'm going to have Collin fall back like a coward and use his, well, I could use his throwing daggers, or how much cheese? Oh, I have nobody with cheese except Lily right now. So I think I'm just going to have him take a shot with the throwing daggers against that spider and see if he can get lucky. He's only rolling 2 because the daggers do not add anything, and he has a 2 battle, so that's really all we got going on here. So he's going to roll his 2 attack, and he hits twice. Now the spider is rolling 3 defense, so he still has a good chance of blocking that, but we have no blocks. Wow, we started off with some luck here. That spider has taken 2 of his 3 wounds already before even moving. That's pretty handy. Good shot, Collin. We come now to Maginos, and Maginos is going to be able to now use his explore action to activate the flip space. Now remember, you're flipping down into the sewers, you're not going over here. I sometimes make that mistake where I move them down instead of flipping, but it is important to note that we are using the flip space to bop down here, and we're therefore going to place ourselves on the flip space here. And we now have to draw an encounter card to see what's in here. There are, I don't believe, any special rules for this tile, but we can bop over and check really quick. The crystal tunnels, yeah, there's just there is a special setup. When exploring this tile, draw an encounter card as usual. Any spiders on that card are just treated as a cave centipede instead. And the reason for that is you have a spider in the other room, there's only one figure, and there is a rule that says if you get extra minions of the same type, you just don't place them. So they would run in here and not have any enemies to fight. So instead, you get a centipede. The other thing is, after placing the initiative cards while on this tile, if there are any roaches on this tile, move the roach initiative card to slot number 1. Move all other cards down to make room if necessary. It's a little bit strange because you're going to go in here, obviously on the first person's turn, after Collin has moved you to the other chamber. Now, that's probably going to occur early in the initiative order, and then the roaches being, in virtue of being placed into slot number 1 rather than on the bottom of the initiative track, doesn't make a huge difference. If anything, it just makes them go later because you're later in initiative. I guess it really actually doesn't make that much difference at all, if any. So it's kind of a weird rule, given that you're already in initiative and this card is not going to cause you to shuffle. So it's a little bit strange. I could be misreading this, but it just says put them in slot number 1. It doesn't say make them have current initiative or anything like that. It does say that the mice are using all the same initiative track. So it might not even be relevant if we don't draw any roaches. But again, if we add roaches to the bottom of the initiative, as opposed to putting them in slot 1, it literally makes no difference because we're here in slot 2, and it doesn't say to take us back to slot 1. So I don't really know what the point of that rule is, but whatever. I guess it just winds up being nothing but fluff. In any event, you could argue the intention was to say they go next in initiative, which would make perfect sense, but it is not what's stated. All right, so we're going to draw our counter card and see what we get. And we're on page 1, so we get 3 rats. And as a result, we're going to add them to the bottom of initiative. Because we have an enemy on the initiative, we're not reshuffling. And we're going to place them 1, 2, and 3 scattered about the initiative spaces as normal. There's no mousetraps or ambush, so we are all set there. And Maginos has used his action. He could move. Question is, do I really want him to? And I don't know that I do, because he's not rolling very much for defense or anything like that. He does have a piece of cheese that he could use for invisibility to save himself, but I think if he just hangs back, this guy can't reach us. This guy, 1, 2, 3, could reach us on a 3. This guy's probably going to reach us, but Nez and Filch are both going before the rats move. So I think he's just going to hang back where he is and not move. We come then to Nez, and I think what Nez is going to do is he's just going to bop down here. Let's see how far he can move. He can move 3. So I think what he's going to do is 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to put him here rather than here. I'm not going to have him in the space because I want him to roll 4 attack dice rather than 3. And I'm going to put him here rather than here because I want this guy to not be able to reach him. He rolls 2 cheese and no hits. That was rather lousy. He gains 2 cheese out of it, but that's it. And he's only got first aid and set traps, so nothing really useful there, unfortunately. Okay. It is the spider's turn in the other room. And the spider is going to roll his movement. He can move 3 spaces, so he's just going to bop next to the mice, and he's going to attack the highest in initiative that he can. That's Tilda. Now he's only rolling 2 attack dice, and he missed completely. That is good fortune. It is Tilda's turn now. And as Tilda has nobody to heal or worry about, and she can still move afterwards, she's just going to swing away at this guy and try to end him. She gets 2 cheese, which is nice, but no hits. And so I think she's just going to fall back here with Collin. Actually, you know what? I think what we're going to do, because this guy is... it doesn't really matter. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, she's going to move on to the wood pile. We're eventually going to want to move out of here that way anyway. And that would require the new spider up here to roll a 3 to get up to them. So she's going to move there after missing. We come now to Filch. And Filch is above these guys in initiative. So I think what he's going to do is try to stab this guy. So he rolls 2 melee dice. He hits once, and this guy's rolling only 1 defense die, and he didn't block it. Which is fortuitous because that grants Filch a piece of cheese, which comes off the wheel. Hooray for Filch. You're my boy. You're my boy. All right. Lily's turn. And Lily's going to be ranged attacker, and Collin's moving before the spider, so she's just going to fall back here. I don't think she can fail to get there. 1, 2, 3, yeah. And she will fire at that spider. I think now that Tilda has a couple of cheese in case we need it, she could use her ability to lower his defense, but I think I'm going to save that for the next spider since this guy already has 2 wounds on him. So she's just going to fire normally. She gets a piece of cheese, and she hits once. This guy rolls 3 defense dice, and he blocks and doesn't roll any cheese, okay? Which would have been good for her because she gets to keep it thanks to her bow. Okay, we come now to the rats. This guy's going to roll his movement. He does get a 3. 1, 2, and 3. So he does eventually get to attack Maginos. And hits twice. Maginos rolls only 1 defense die. He does get a cheese out of it. But he's now the proud owner of 2 wounds, which is very unfortunate. This guy gets to roll his movement and rolls only 1. So luck wasn't really with us right there. But it is now Collin's turn, and I think we're going to do the same thing. He's going to fall back, not failing to get there, and he's just going to roll his throwing daggers and miss. We come now to Maginos, who is going to fall the heck back. 1, 2, and 3, and fire at that guy. And let's see, we got a decent amount of cheese here, so I think he's going to spend 1 to roll 3 dice with his Mystic Bolt attack. And all he gets is 2 cheese out of it. Nez is going to come here. He's rolling 3 defense dice, so he's going to park himself here and try to be heroic and squish a rat. He gets a cheese and hits twice. Now he's going to be the one who has to heal Maginos, but he has to be in the space with Maginos. If he does that, then he can't provide cover for Maginos, so I'm going to worry about healing him later, and that's why I moved here. This guy's rolling 2 defense. He didn't block anything, so he does die, but he puts 2 cheese on the wheel, which is very not good. But that's Nez's turn. We come now to the spider, and we'll see how far he can move. Only 1. Falling back works. It's a lesson for you youngsters out there. Always be a coward. Okay, Tilda, I think, is going to be, again, being our best defender. She's going to step forward and slug away, hitting 3 times. That's a likely kill. The spider does not cheese the wheel, which is good, and he takes only 2 of the 3 blocks. And as a result, he does take that 3rd wound, which kills him. But because the result of that is we're going to take the spider and replace him with another one on the bed, I'm just going to clear the wounds and bop him up here. And that was Tilda's turn. We come now to Filch, who is going to attempt to help out. Yeah, he's going to see how far he can move. He's going to move back here. Nez is going to remain the closest. He's our best defender, so that rat's coming after him. He's going to come here and attack because he needs line of sight. But he's going to attack with his bow in order to, again, keep Nez being the one being attacked in case he does not kill this guy. But I want him to try to kill this guy because I want him to take cheese off the wheel. But before I move, I want to actually grab a piece of cheese from Maginot's, because I want to have enough for energy rush in case I miss, because I really want to get cheese off the wheel there. So he's going to roll his 3 attack dice. He hits 3 times. That is a dead rat. Let's see if he cheeses the wheel first. He does not. So that is a dead rat. That is 1 off the wheel, and that is 1 over to Filch, who now has cheese to power find even after Nez heals Maginot's. That's very nice. But we're also going to take the rats off of the initiative. That's the end of Filch's turn. We come now to Lily, who will, I think, spend her cheese to fire at that guy with her ability, which again is the, I believe it's called Accurate Shot. The target of that attack roll rolls 2 or fewer dice when defending against the attack. Now remember, I had preemptive shot. I didn't mention this, but when I came into this room, new minions were placed on the board. She could have chosen a minion that was placed and made a ranged attack, but even though she had 2 cheese because she got 2 cheese when walking into the room, I wanted to save the 2 cheese. There was no other cheese in the party, so that's why I didn't spend it on preemptive shot, just so you're aware. But she is now spending 2 cheese on accurate shot, which lowers the spider's defense dice from 3 to 1. She better hit, though, because you have to declare that before you fire. So she better get at least 1 bow, and she did not. That's Lily's turn. We come now to Collin, who, let's see, Tilda has 2 cheese. Lily has 1. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab Lily's cheese, and then I'm going to spend that cheese to give Lily another attack. Now, this is not going to benefit from the accurate shot ability, but the option would be have him attack with the throwing daggers for 2 dice and no benefit, or her firing 2 dice and having at least the benefit of her bow where they can't cheese the wheel. So I'm going to go for the latter. Go away. All right. So Lily's going to fire again. She again rolls nothing but swords. And we come to Maginot's, who's got nothing to do but search and not find anything. And we come to Nez, who's going to come here and spend 2 cheese to power first aid. Again, the wording on that is you have to be on the same space. It's a free action. You remove 1 wound marker. So it's a cost of 2 cheese for 1 wound. But it does at least leave him free to search. And I'm going to, because the other party's still embroiled in battle, Filch, at worst, is going to be able to move us out of here. So there's no reason to not kind of stick around here and try to milk the tile a little bit, at least until I'm healed up. So he's going to search and see what he finds. He gets the Ring of Cat Strength, which is very interesting, because that is an item that I like to keep for Collin, actually. The reason being, it's a really good melee option, and Tilda's keeping the warding staff as opposed to this. And she's my other real main melee. I've got Collin, Nez, and Tilda, which are my main melee guys. Filch sometimes does melee, Maginot's rarely, and Lily also very rarely. But Nez can't use this because he doesn't have the movement required, unfortunately. And it only works when you're using a melee weapon. So he's going to hang on to it for sure and give it to Collin eventually, but I might give it to either Filch or Maginot's for the time being so that they can benefit from it. But that's a good item to find, because I like having that for Collin. Certainly better than the throwing daggers. All right, we come to the spider. We'll see how far he can move. He can only move 1 space. That is fortuitous again. And Tilda's going to try to take advantage of that and club him. She hits only once, which she blocks. Filch is, because we're going to wait around for Nez to be able to heal Maginos one more time. I think Filch, oops, I need to double click that. Filch is just going to move down here with them, and he's going to search as well. Darn it. All right, Lily doesn't have the cheese to do anything except just shoot normally, so she will do that. She rolls one hit, which she blocks, and again, with the special ability of her bow, the one benefit of it, she's not hitting very hard right now, but they cannot cheese the wheel, so she can kind of fire with impunity and not worry about it. So she just gains cheese instead of having it go on the wheel, which is nice. It's Collin's turn. Now once again, if he comes up and engages the spider, he is going to be the one attacked, and he's only rolling 2 defense versus Tilda's 2. He's unlikely to kill it with 1 attack. And since Lily just got a cheese, I think what he's going to do is the same thing he did last time. He's just going to borrow her cheese and then spend it. So I'm just going to lower her cheese to 0 directly and have her attack again. She gets the cheese back. That's an ability on her bow. It's not a special ability, so it still works even though Collin's granting it to her. But this time she did hit. And sorry, that's not a bow. That's just her regular attack. He does block it, and he doesn't roll any cheese. So that was a wash, basically. Maginos on his turn will simply search, not finding anything. Nez on his turn will once again spend his cheese to heal Maginos. And then before moving us on, I think I'm going to take a look at where we're at cheese-wise on this side of things. Filch has 3. Maginos has 2. I think I'm going to stick around here and try to get Filch one more shot at the find ability since I do have the cheese for it. So he's not going to move us on. The spider can move but doesn't want to. He's just going to attack Tilda straight up. He gets 1 hit. She's rolling 3 defense dice, and she blocks it. Tilda's turn to fire back. She gains a cheese and only 1 hit. He rolls his 3 defense dice. He puts a cheese on the wheel, but he doesn't block the attack, and therefore suffers his first wound. Filch will now search and find something, so he will spend 2 of his 3 cheese to use the find ability. And we have some interesting things. We've got, okay, so Clawbiter is a one-handed weapon that requires 3 lore, which means only Maginos can use it. It doesn't add anything to attack, so he would be attacking that with 1 attack, because he has 1 battle. Before attacking with Clawbiter, spend up to 3 cheese. For each cheese spent, add +1 to the battle. So he can spend 3 cheese and roll 4 immediately attack dice, just like Nez. But it's at the cost of 3 cheese. Now when he's rolling, there's a good chance he's going to be getting maybe a cheese on that, every other round or so. But that is not going to power itself by any stretch. So I'm not a big fan of Clawbiter for that reason. The Lucky Staff is kind of good for him. When attacking with this staff, you may re-roll 1 die. You must keep the second result, but it is a blunt melee-only weapon. So he would be rolling 2 dice when he's in melee, and he can re-roll 1 die. But is that hugely better than what he's doing already? I don't know. And it requires him to be in melee range. Not the best option, although with invisibility it becomes a much more viable option. Teleport, though, with Maginos in this party, who's, again, the only one who can use it, it's a very powerful spell in certain situations. One at a time, move this mouse and any other mice on the same tile to any other available space on the same tile. Now, it doesn't say you use up your action. Scrolls are free actions. So basically, as a free action, just reposition your mice on that tile wherever the hell you want. And then finish your turn. Potentially very powerful, especially on the pipes tile that is coming up. And I'm not really enamored of any of the other two items. These are all only, ironically, all only usable by Maginos. I think I'm just going to go with teleport. So he'll keep that, and then he's going to trade that over to Maginos. And I think while I'm at it, I'm just going to have him take the Whisker Froth Elixir for now, because he's a little bit more mobile than Maginos is. Okay. So that's Filch's turn. We come to Lily, who will fire once again at the spider. She doesn't have the cheese to do much else, so she's just going to fire once. She hits once, and he blocks it and doesn't cheese. Collin. Oh, gosh. I'm getting tired of this spider, I'll tell you that much. But I'm not in a big rush to get out of here, because Tilda's defending pretty well right now, and she has the cheese to heal herself, even if she gets hit. So Collin, I think, will just... yeah, he'll just do the same thing. Lily, I'm going to borrow your cheese and let you shoot. Give order is pretty useful. And she just misses completely. Alright, Maginos will now... I guess Maginos will search, not find anything, and then Nez will move us on to the next tile. So we are going to come to a space that is adjacent to one of these, the exits. So it's this one, or this one. But we're trying to get here, which is, by the way, it's another reason to bring Filch in this party along with Nez, because this flip space requires a Tinkerer or a Scamp to activate. That's what the little cog wheel there indicates. Tinkerer or Scamp, oddly enough. I guess he's good at lockpicking, so he has some conception of gears and cogwheels and things like that. So I think I'm going to put the party closer to that. All right. I'm just going to clear the chat window here, and just to kind of clean things up. And let's pop over and see if there are any special rules for this tile. All right, the special rules for the sewer tile are pretty straightforward, although there's one minor confusion here. Again, we're going to have water with a current, but because we're starting here and our objective is here, we're ideally not going into the water at all. We're just going to clamber up here and go this way. So not a big deal for us on this tile. There's a story moment that you're going to deal with, but only when this is explored. It says the first time the flip location on this tile is explored by Nez. But again, the rule for the symbols with that cogwheel is Tinkerer or Scamp, I'm pretty sure. So it's a little strange. It seems to imply that Nez has to be the one to explore this. I'm going to play it that way, which might indicate, it might matter for surges and cheese and on the wheel and stuff like that. But it says the first time it's explored by Nez, you get the story moment. Then you advance the chapter end marker one page. So that's significant, okay? Nez exploring that is going to give you, first of all, seems to be required, and then when you get it, you advance the chapter end. You also have a whole tile special search for the dinner fork. Okay, so we're in a new tile. I can therefore clear the search markers. Now, the way I have this coded, it clears from everybody, but nobody in the other room had done any searches yet, so it's really not significant. We are, however, entering this tile for the first time. There was no special setup, so we are going to draw another encounter card and see what we're facing. We're still on page 1, and our encounter card is 3 rats. Once again, our surge is a spider. which is interesting for a couple of reasons. We'll see if that becomes relevant and talk about it then. But there's that rule that says that you place a centipede instead was only for the last tile. It wasn't like chapter specific. But there is a chapter specific rule that says if you kill a spider, you gain a benefit, and that's a chapter rule, so it applies across the board. So if the other party kills their spider, and then we trigger a surge and get a spider, we might get a benefit for killing that spider. So that's interesting. However, that was Nez's turn, and we are now going to be placing 3 rats. And they're going to go, because we have enemies on the initiative track, they're going to go to the bottom of the track. And these guys are going to be positioned spread out among the 4 spaces. Obviously, I'm going to put them on the 3 that are furthest away from my guys. And they're going to go after Filch, thank goodness. But we come now to the spider's turn. And, well, technically I could move Nez before ending his turn, because the explore action just moved him over here and we didn't reshuffle, so he hasn't moved yet. I think that means I can move him, and I think therefore I will, because he's my best defender. And if I stay in a group, this guy, when he reaches us, which he probably will, would attack Maginos, my worst defender, instead. So I think I'll do that. Okay, the spider is now going to attack Tilda, hitting once. Tilda will roll her defense, blocking the attack. She's going to come back at him. This is the titanic struggle of defenders here. She gets a cheese and 2 hits. Let's see how he does blocking that. That's dead spider, first of all. But we did put 2 cheese on the wheel, which means we're likely to be adding things pretty soon here, because these guys are not going to trigger any more surges here until we run out of time. So most likely a surge is going to take place on the other tile as a result of that. But Tilda has slain the spider, and therefore we're going to go over to the story moment that is relevant to that. And basically, once the 2 spiders are defeated, the player controls Collin, reads the following, and it's basically they just have discovered that Andon is poisoned. He's been bitten repeatedly by these spiders, and there's really nothing that they can do for him right now. So they're just going to have to move on. That's pretty much it. But while we're at it, I want to bop up to the rule here. After defeating the 2 spiders in the King's Chamber, each time any mouse defeats a spider, move the chapter end marker 1 page farther on the chapter track. So that's an important thing to bear in mind. There were no other special rules, I don't believe, for the King's Chamber other than that. The story moment doesn't advance our chapter end or anything like that. So we are going to be bopping down into the King Tunnels next, and so we'll just look at this really quick. Basically, we're going to be going onto the flip space. We're going to be going down here to try to get to the forge from this tile. And we're going to be placing enemies, around here. But the thing here is we need to be able to get across this water, which is a little bit treacherous because it's very easy to get swept off of the map, unfortunately. There's a special rule for the tile, and it says leaving the King's Tunnels before a mouse can use the Explorer action to leave the tunnels. All the other mice in the group have to be on the same side. So if you are trying to get out of here, all the mice have to get out. So you're going to be probably holding hands a lot to try to pull each other out, and you have to get lucky with some of those rolls, otherwise you're going to be swept off. There is then a special search that can only be performed when the tile is cleared of enemies, but it's a cheese cache, so they can stock up before diving into the forge. And again, remember, once they clear this tile, they don't have anywhere else that they need to go to, so they're going straight into the forge. You might want to worry about getting there before the other party does, because you have a big encounter in the forge. If you're at half strength, that tile can go south on you. So bear that in mind. But that was Tilda's turn. She killed the spider. She'll just go ahead and maybe move over here in case she gets a chance at the grape. And we come now to Filch. And Filch, I think, is going to want to attack the rat that is the one, I think the only one that's really much of a threat to us right now. I guess this guy, if he rolls a 3, could go 1, 2, 3. But this guy only needs he's guaranteed to be able to attack us, so we'll attack him first. And, ooh, that's actually a thought. He's going to grab the, yeah, that's what he's going to do. He's going to grab the Ring of Cat Strength from Nez. He's going to equip said ring. And he's going to roll his movement, which is 6. That's plenty. He's going to go into that. He'll go here. And he's now rolling 3 melee attack dice with his dagger because of the ring versus only 1 defense die for the rat. So he's very likely to be able to take that guy out. He gets a cheese on top of 2 hits, which is a guaranteed kill. I just have to make sure this guy doesn't roll a cheese on his 1 defense die. Otherwise, we trigger a surge. On cue. All right. Well, yeah, that happened. Okay, so we've triggered a surge. We are going to advance the page. That really sucked. The rat does die, and it does give Filch another piece of cheese. But we now place a spider in the adjacent spot, and that spider is gone. So he's no longer here. And he's going at the bottom of the initiative, which means he's going next. So that could be bad news for Filch. Yeah, that could have gone a lot better. But we're going to add him to the initiative, and then we're going to place him right here. The good news is if we take this guy out, we're going to advance our page, which is all to the good. But Filch could potentially get really hurt here pretty quick. All right, Lily has very little to do, but we're not in a rush here on this tile, so she's just going to search. And so far she's not doing a whole lot. The rat warriors here are now going to take their turn. He only gets a 2, so he goes here. This guy rolls his move and only moves 1, so I'll put him there. Come down to the spider, who doesn't want to try to move. He's just going to attack Filch. He's rolling. Okay, he only hit for 1. Filch is rolling his defense. And, oh, okay. He gained a cheese and blocked the attack. So that worked out. Collin, similarly, I guess it would be good to have a grape if we hit roaches in the next room, but I'm not too worried about it too much. So I'm just going to have him search and try to get some gear on these guys. Little love so far. Okay. Maginus, what do you want to do, my friend? I think we want to take out that spider if we can, but he's not really the best option for it. Yeah, he's going to fire his regular attack. Oh, wait a minute, does he have meeps? He has meeps. No, he doesn't have meeps. Oh, that's too bad. I didn't give him meeps. It would take all 6 of my cheese to get a meeps, at which point he couldn't use it. But meeps would be very good against the spider. Reduce its defense against everybody by 1 die. But not an option. So I think he's going to roll his regular attack against that rat and then move over here and cast invisibility so that nobody bothers him. He hits this guy twice. And unfortunately, they're both blocked. That sucked. Okay. So he'll spend a cheese to become invisible. And then Nez is going to come over here and try to clobber the spider. He's going to roll his 4 attack dice. Does he have any skills that he wants to use? First aid is not going to be useful. But set trap uses his action, and he has nothing else. So yeah, he'll just attack. He gets a cheese and 1 hit only. Versus 3 defense. Not surprisingly, it's blocked. Tilda is just going to move up here and search. Find something. tail link is marginally useful. I guess she'll keep it. Filch will do the same thing against the spider. 3 attack dice versus 1 defense is generally going to be good. It's 2 more cheese and only 1 hit, but it's versus only 2 defense dice. Did I roll 3 versus him before? I don't even remember. If I did, I messed up. But because he's higher in initiative, the spider's rolling only 2 defense dice. But it is blocked. And Lily will search. Find something. Scorching Wand. Beautiful. Because that is my favorite item for Maginos. Now, unfortunately, they're not in the same party, but she's definitely going to hang on to that for him, because that lets him basically use Mystic Bolt for free. Every time he attacks, he doesn't have to spend a cheese, and he can use invisibility or meeps or anything. So that is a very good item. He just attacks with his lore value, which is 3. All right, the rats. What are they doing? He can only move 1 space. He can move 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. And that means he's attacking Maginos, who's the highest. No, he's not attacking Maginos because Maginos is invisible, so he's attacking Nez. With 2 dice, that's 2 hits, but Nez is rolling 3 defense, so hopefully he blocks at least 1. And he's taken 1 wound. This battle is not going my way so far. I'd really like to not be massively poisoned. This guy is also attacking Nez, because the rule is on that, it's the highest in initiative amongst the closest mice that has not been attacked this turn. Once we go from the rats, oh, they should have been moved up in initiative twice, actually. So that was my mistake. But yeah, this guy's going to attack Nez again, because he hasn't been attacked this turn. When we've gone from the rat to the spider, it's a new turn. That's 1 hit and a piece of cheese on the wheel. Nez is rolling 3 defense, so he blocks it. So at least we haven't suffered any poison yet. We come now to Collin, who may as well search. Find something. Oh, no. Well, it would be bad, but all you do is you lose your... oh no, I'm sorry, you play immediately. You receive 1 poison wound marker. Okay. He takes a poison wound. It's not the moldy cheese, which means you lose your cheese, which you didn't have any of. Alright, well, I'm still better off because I got that Scorching Wand, so I'm happy overall. But Maginos here needs to do something. So here's what he's going to do. He's going to move into this space, and he's going to attack with a melee attack. He's going to gain 2 cheese because of his ability. He's going to hit once, which is then blocked, but then he's going to spend 1 of those cheese on invisibility to be immune again. Nez now is going to keep swinging at that spider because we got to get him off the board. I can suffer wounds. I don't want to be poisoned. So he's going to swing at the spider for 4 dice. Hit only once. Oh my gosh. And we've cheesed the wheel again. This is just not going well. And, well, Filch is going to get to go before the spider does, so he's going to fall back. As much as he can. 1, 2, 3. And Tilda, I think at that point, Tilda is going to... Does Cure take her action? Yes, it does take her action, but she only needs to spend 1 of her 4 cheese to heal Collin. That should have been a poison wound marker. So he should be like that. She then uses her action to spend 1 cheese to give Collin back to full strength. But because that's her action, she can't move us on. The rats now go. And this guy then is going to attack Filch, hitting once. It's not blocked, so he takes a wound. Yeah, that he saw Filch as the closest. This guy is then going to roll his move and only move 1. So he still can't reach Filch, which is lucky. Filch is going to take another... Filch is going to try to kill this rat, because there's a good chance that spider won't be able to reach us after I fall back. And I'd like to take cheese off the wheel and get rid of somebody here. So he's going to still roll 3 attack dice. That's 3 hits versus only 1 defense. He cheesed the wheel, so it didn't affect the wheel, but at least he's gone. And Filch gains a cheese without putting any on the wheel. And then Filch can't fail to get 3 movement to fall back to here. Lily now, because they've all searched, they've got nothing left to do here, she's going to move us on to the next tile. And I will clear all of their search markers real quick. I don't have a macro, unfortunately, for when they are split to do it properly. So I'll do it this way. They're all going to be on the flip space. And we've already looked at the special rules here. I need to get onto this spot here to get out of here. That's pretty much it. And I'm going to draw an encounter card because there are no special setup rules here. So we are on page 2. We get 1 elite rat and 2 regular rats. Now we have only 1 rat model here. We can only have 6 rats total on the board at any one time, but that's not a problem. So I'm going to add the elite rat to the initiative. Now what's interesting is the rat initiative card is already on the board, so that just stays where it is. But I'm going to place the elite rat first, and you place them in the furthest entry space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're equivalent, so I'll just put them down here because that's where I'm going. And then you put the other rats amongst the entry spaces, spread out as well as you can, which means because that's an option, he's right there with them, as far as I can tell. Now, Lily has just explored a tile, and as such she gets 2 cheese. We've just placed enemies onto the board, so she can use preemptive shot, which she will against the rat that is sharing the space with her. She misses. We come now to the spider. Because Lily, again, in her action, she put us down here. She got us embroiled in this ugly fight. And I think I forgot to move the rat wires up last time. Keep forgetting that. Lily moved us on, but her action included the explorer, so she couldn't do anything to attack or anything. She could move, but I don't know that I want to right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and call that her turn. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Alright, so we come now to this spider. He's not seeing Maginos, so we'll see how far he can move. 2 spaces, which I'm going to say means he comes here, because he can't share that space with Maginos, but I think he would keep moving. And then we have the elite rat warrior, who I don't know that he can see that space clearly. It looks like it goes through that bit of black right there. So he can't fail to move 1, and I think from here he can see that space. So he'll move up. He'll attack the highest in initiative, that's Collin, with a range attack of 3. He puts 2 cheese on the wheel, but at least he doesn't threaten in any way. Okay. Now bear in mind, we've already used the old surge. Our new surge is a centipede, and that's going to occur on whichever tile it's triggered on. So we could add a centipede to the other room. I forgot to place a mouse trap on this tile, but it's not really going to affect anything because I don't foresee us going over there at any point. Whoops. So, big whoop, basically. Okay. That was the spider's turn. That was the elite rat's turn. He now moves up in the initiative, and then we come around to Collin's turn. And Collin is just going to try to kill this guy who's right next to them. Hitting twice. Okay. The rat is killed, which is a good thing. But we have cheesed the wheel. So we are here. And we are now on page 3 out of only 6 thus far. And we have just added our centipede, which means we now discard that encounter card. And the centipede goes to the open entry space that is closest. That's not an open space for a large creature, so we place him here. But we now have a centipede to deal with on this tile as well. And he also gets added to initiative and placed right there. And at that point, I don't think Collin wants to move. It's Maginos' turn. And I think he's just going to fire at the rat with a regular attack. 2 hits again. And no shields. So that rat is toast. We do put 1 cheese on the wheel. But Maginos has killed that rat, which is good. I'm going to see how far he can move. Only 4. Which means it doesn't leave him enough to get up there. And as a result, he's going to have to spend another cheese to go invisible again. We come now to Nez. Nez and Filch are both going to be able to move before that spider does. So I guess there's no reason not to move back again. Unless I want to attack. Because we have the teleport scroll, I'm not so worried about getting the dinner fork on this tile. And we do have 1 more tile to clear before we can go to the forge. So, I think I'm going to just try to kill this darn spider. So he's going to step forward and swing away once again. Oh my goodness gracious. And, okay, we come now to the other rats. There are no more on that tile, but there's still a rat over here. And he can only move 1 space. So he's done. But they do move up in initiative. Let's not forget that anymore. Tilda's turn. Tilda's got nobody to go after right now. This guy's going to keep plinking away at us, but these guys are going to start closing pretty quickly as well. I don't really, because she's not going to be able to attack. I certainly don't want to dive in the water and start dealing with that yet. And if I move here, I'm within range of this centipede reaching me. So I think what I want to do is just search instead. I don't have any healing to do. She's going to take 1 step forward so that she's the one who's getting attacked rather than Collin, just because, again, she's rolling more defense dice. And we come to Filch, who will attempt to kill this spider, and once again, he's still higher in initiative, so he's better off doing melee with that ring, which is paying dividends for me right now. Except I can't roll very well. Alright, 3 hits versus only 2 defense. That's a guaranteed of at least 1 wound. We did put a cheese on the wheel, but it's 2 wounds to the spider because he blocked only 1 of those 3 hits. So he is now pretty badly hurt, nigh unto death. And we come to Lily. And I think what Lily's going to do is borrow a piece of cheese from Tilda. And spend it on accurate shot versus the elite rat. And of course, not roll any bows. Alright. The elite rat is going to fire back. He's going to fire at Tilda. He's going to miss completely, but he does cheese the wheel. All right. If we just, keep not killing things, then these guys are eventually going to keep cheesing the wheel, and we're going to start running out of time here real quick. We're already on page 3. Now, I got a couple of chances of bumping that up, but I'm starting to get concerned about our time limit here. It is the spider's turn in the other room, and he's got an abundance of targets here. He's going for Nez, who's highest in initiative. That's 2 hits versus his 3 defense. He blocks both of them, thank goodness. The cave centipede now will get a turn, and let's see how far he can move. That's 2 spaces. And the elite rat moves up after his turn. It's Collin's turn now. Oh, goodness gracious. Collin will borrow a piece of cheese from Tilda. I have faith in you, Lily. Eventually you're going to do something for me. So he's going to spend this. And he's going to give her another shot. And this time I think she's going to keep firing at that elite rat to try to get him off the board. That's 1 hit. But she does not block. She has taken out the elite rat. Alright, so that guy goes away. And Collin will not move. Again, we'll rely on an unwounded Tilda as our shield right now. But we come to Maginos, who now does not need to stay invisible. We have a bunch of cheese here, and I think I'm starting to get worried enough that I'm going to snag a bunch. I'm going to grab 6 cheese from Filch. And I'm going to spend that 6 cheese as a free action to learn the Meeps ability. And I am going to spend that cheese on Meeps and apply it to the spider. And what that does is the following. You can use this anytime during your turn. You place the Meeps marker under a minion figure. While the Meeps marker, while on it, that minion rolls 1 less die when defending against an attack from any mouse. At the beginning of the turn, remove the marker from the board and place it on Maginos' card. So basically, at least, it's a little bit ambiguous here, at least until that spider moves, if he does, his defense dice are reduced by 1 thanks to Meeps, and that's at the cost of only 1 cheese. Maginos hasn't even attacked yet, so I think he's going to. Once I roll his movement and get him up a little bit further away, he's going to roll just his regular ranged attack, and he does hit once, and this guy now is only rolling 2 defense dice instead of 3 because of Meeps. He doesn't block it, and therefore Maginos gets the kill. Alright. And as a result, again, because of the chapter-specific rule, that means that we advance the chapter end 1 page because we've killed that spider. We still have enemies on the board, even though that spider is gone. And as a result, we're going to be able to heal up and search a little bit here before we move on. But remember, we have 1 more tile to go, so we don't want to tarry here for too long. But that is definitely Maginos' turn. We come to the Rat Warrior in the other room, see how far he can move. Remembering that these guys ignore terrain, so he can just move. It's a little bit unclear whether you can go from this space to this. Again, are you going through that wall or not? I'm just going to say you can. Seems legal. What's a little bit more dubious is this space. Is that a space and this isn't? Or is this part of that space? Or is it a separate space? Right? So can you go here and here? And if you can go here, can you move into that water? That's going to be relevant for when we're trying to get out of here. I tend to say that you can't move from that space to that space. It seems a little too easy. But, your party may rule differently. Either way, that rat is no longer, he's still not adjacent to anything, so he's not a threat. And we come to Nez. Now, the downside of all of this is we only have 2 cheese left, and Nez is going to have to spend it to heal Filch. Filch having only 3 hit points and rolling fewer defense dice is the one I want to do that for. Now, we do have the Whisker Froth floating around just in case we need it, but I don't think I'm going to blow it on just 1 wound on my best defender in the party, who has 4 hit points to start anyway. So that's Nez. That's a free action, which means he can still move. 1, 2, 3, 4. He can't get onto that, so he can't move us on, so he might as well search. Find something, and it is the Slicing Dagger. Well, I don't usually care too much about that because it's you're not rolling too many attack dice, although Filch is now rolling 3 dice. It effectively doubles the amount of cheese you're getting out of it, which is not a big deal. If you're going for a knife strike build with Filch, it can be nice to have, but I think at this point, being cheese poor, I'm actually going to discard that for cheese instead. And we come to Tilda, who now does have somebody to attack. I don't think I want to dive into the water just yet. So I think I'm just going to move here and try to kill that rat. And she gets 2 cheese and a hit, but he is rolling 2 defense. Okay, so she killed that guy, but 2 things. We've discarded our encounter card. Even if we hadn't, the surge would have been a centipede, which is already on the table, so nothing really happens, but we do advance the page to 4. So we are running out of time here. But we are down to just the centipede on the map. Filch on his turn. Again, I'm going to play this as though Nez has to move us on. It would be an option otherwise for him to move us on. He doesn't have the find ability, but he can still search. So I think he'll do that. He finds something. And yeah, let's just see. I'm not, because I have teleport, I don't think I'm too worried about the dinner fork right now. So I'm going to draw, and I get a cheese cache, which means all 3 of these guys, each mouse on the same tile gets 1 cheese, which is fortuitous because I was low on cheese after blowing it on gaining the Meeps ability. But we're actually in decent shape now. And that's going to give Nez the ability to heal himself too before we go on. Lily, at this point, she has no cheese. Collin has no cheese. Tilda has 3 cheese. The centipede's only rolling 2 defense. She's only rolling 2 attack, but I think... Gosh, she's just rolling so poorly for her attacks. Do I want to spend 2 cheese to lower his defense when I can't even hit him in the first place? Is a real question. But he's going next, and he's going to be attacking Tilda. There's no way I can possibly kill him, but I've got to start damaging him. But do I want to save the cheese for heals instead? I think I'll just fire regularly. She adds a cheese, and she gets 1 hit. We'll see what he rolls for his defense. He does block it. Centipede can't fail to move here, can't move any closer, so he will then attack Tilda. He hits only once, thank goodness. She does block it, thank goodness. And we come to Collin, who now can leap into action. So he will do so. Swinging for 3, hitting all 3, versus 2 defense. No blocks, that's 3 wounds. The only downside here is this guy has 4 hit points, so he's not dead yet. But that was awesome. Good job, Collin. Maginos, again, has nothing really to do except move us on and maybe trade cheese around. I think I'm going to have Nez spend his cheese on himself. So he's just going to search and not find anything. Nez, on his turn, will move us up here. As a free action, he's going to spend 2 cheese to heal himself. And then we are going to, once again, just kind of clear the chat, reset. We're going to flip the tile. Place ourselves all on the flip space. Nobody in the other party has searched, so I'll just clear the search markers. And in order to see what we got here, we're going to have to bop over to the instruction manual and see if there is a special setup. So there's not a lot to the pipes. Basically, we have a special search, which we can only do once we clear the tile, and it's the rest spot. So we can choose, if we wish, to spend a cheese to cure ourselves once the fight is over. You make camp, you heal up. The other rule is that even though there normally is no entrance into the forge from this side of the map, there is a special rule that says in this particular case, when you explore here, you place yourselves on the special token that is included in the game, the pipe that allows you to enter the forge from this tile. That's pretty much it. Now, very importantly, I want to not forget that there was, as part of the Explore that brought us in here, Exploring with Nez allows me to add a page to the chapter end, which is very good because I might very well need those 4 pages before I'm out of here. We're now going to draw an encounter card to see what we're facing here. And we're on page 4, so we get 3 rats, which isn't great, but it's an ambush card, which the ambush part is not great. The rats are fine. I'm not too worried about rats, but it is an ambush card, unfortunately. And once again, because we're still fighting on the other tile, we still have enemies on the initiative track, and as a result, these are simply getting added to the bottom. And that's not the worst thing in the world because I'm still going to have Filch going before the rats do. But I'm going to spread them out over the 3 mini and entry spaces per usual. And what's nice is, even though you can span these tiles to these tiles, if you're changing colors, pipe colors, you really can't move unless it has those lines. So you kind of think of these black spaces here on the map almost like walls, except they don't block line of sight. But you can't move from here to here, even though you're ignoring terrain with a rat. So this guy's going to have to walk all the way around like this to reach us. Which means, because I got a couple of ranged attackers here, I'm going to be able to do some damage to these guys before they're a threat to me. And the surge is only 2 more rats, which I can put back here. So I'm not too worried about it. The problem is it is an ambush card, so I guess they still move up in initiative. So I'm going to roll that, and they move 2 spots in initiative. So Filch is still above them, at least for turn 1. That was Nez's turn. He really has nothing else to do except maybe move forward. This guy can move 1, 2, 3, so he can reach us. So I think I might have him step forward and get attacked rather than Maginos in the event that he's not killed. Tilda is now going to try to end the centipede. She gains a cheese and hits twice, and he's only rolling 2 defense. So he is not able to fend off the combined efforts of Collin and Tilda. The rain blows upon him. The sucker is killed before doing any damage, thanks to Tilda and her heroic stand on the beach. That is her turn. She's got nobody she needs to heal up. But remember, there's a special search here, which is a cheese cache, which I definitely want to do. And of course, I need to try to get across the river here. She hasn't moved, so she could do it, but all she could do on her turn is move into the water and then start to get swept away. So she ain't going to do anything like that. We're going to go on and move on to Filch here. Filch, the obvious move here is to try to kill this rat before he can do any harm to us. I can ranged attack him, but remember, I'm rolling 3 dice versus 1 if I get into melee. This guy's pretty likely to be able to reach us anyway. I'd rather him attack Nez than Filch, but I'd rather have Filch have the best chance of killing him outright and maybe even getting cheese off the wheel. So I'm going to have Filch move 1, 2, 3 spaces to here. Now this guy's going to be able to go 1, 2, 3 here and not be able to reach Filch. So he's going to come here and roll his 3 melee attack dice with his dagger. He gains a cheese and 2 hits, which means I guaranteed to kill that guy. I'd just like him to not roll cheese with his 1 defense die. He did not, which means he's killed. Filch gains yet another cheese and takes it off of the wheel, which is wonderful. The rat warriors now get to move. And we'll see how far. He moves only 1 space. He can move 2, but he's got to go like this. And that's the rat warriors. We come now to Lily. I guess we'll start getting across the river first. Lily can move 5 spaces, but remember when you go into water, you end your movement. And as I said, you can't go here. The reason why you would want to is the current, when it's, if she fails to get out of the water, the current's going to sweep her on. If you're here, you're very close to getting swept off the board. Whereas if you're here, not so much. But she's going to move into this space because I don't think you legally, I think it's cheesy to say you can go into that space. So I'm going to go here, and then she's going to spend a movement to try to get out. Now, she's got to roll a die and roll a star on that 1 die in order to do so. She succeeds, which is very, very good. She's going to move on to this space. What's good about that is she's going to be able to help these guys get out of here. They're going to roll more dice because she's out here helping them. That's very important because remember, I can't explore until all the mice are on this side of the water. But that's Lily's complete turn, having used a move and the scurry action to get across the water. The centipede is actually gone. I should have taken him off. And the rats, I should have moved up after their turn was over. We come now to Collin. Collin will also spend a move to get in here. And now because he's got Lily helping him, he can roll 2 dice to try to climb out. He succeeds, so he's out of the water as well. Which is great because Tilda now will be rolling 3 dice to try to climb out on her turn. And Maginos is going to try to kill a rat, I'm sure. I do have cheese on the wheel, so I don't want to be just firing willy-nilly. And I think, remember, he's got the Mystic Bolt, which lets him spend 1 cheese to roll an additional attack die. Or he could spend 1 cheese to lower the target's defense by 1 using meeps. I think I'm going to do the latter just because I'm worried about cheese on the wheel right now. So I'm going to spend 1 cheese versus this rat here to try to lower his defense, and then I will fire at him with my regular ranged attack, hitting once versus his 1 defense die. He blocks it, unfortunately. But at the same time, Nez and Filch are also rolling versus only that 1 defense. Nez doesn't have a lot to do right now. He could steal cheese from Filch and use set trap or something, but I'm certainly not going to worry about that too much. He could try to worry about coming across here, but I've got that teleport scroll. I'm not going to be keeping it going into the next chapter, and I don't probably need it on this tile because it's just going to be a big melee in the middle of the room. So I'm probably going to use teleport to get across here if I need to. So I think what he's going to do is just search. Find something. And he gets a regular old dagger, which again, if I was building a knife strike build, might be useful. But I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to discard that. for a piece of cheese. All right, and then I guess he'll just move up here with Filch. And let's see what Tilda can do. She's going to move, end her movement in the water, and then scurry to try to climb out. She gets to roll 3 dice to try to get out of the water. And she does thankfully get 1 star, so we are safe and sound on the right side of par. The Rat Warriors now get to move. He can only move 1 space. This guy can move 3. 1, 2, and 3. He's now adjacent, and he will be attacking Nez. He puts a cheese on the wheel, but Nez is rolling 3 defense. He blocks and gains a cheese. So there was no harm done there except for our time limit. And the rats then move up in initiative, and it's now Filch's turn. He's going to try to get that cheese back off of the wheel with his 3 melee dice. That's 2 hits. That is again a guaranteed kill. Actually, not. I don't know. He's not higher than them in initiative any longer. And the wording on Maginos's skill here is interesting. You can use this ability, blah blah blah, while on the so you place the marker under the figure, and then while on the marker, the minion rolls 1 less die. That wording seems to indicate that the marker doesn't move with the rat when the rat moves. So I'm going to say he gets to still roll 2 defense dice, and that the Meep's ability only worked for Maginos. I think that's how I have to play that. I could be wrong. But either way, he did not block, so that is 1 dead rat. He didn't cheese the wheel, so that comes back off, and Filch gains a piece of cheese as a result. I'm going to have to look up that Meeps thing, and if I'm wrong about that, I'll put a note. We come to Lily, and these guys are pretty much done on this tile, so she'll just move over here. But before exploring, because again, I don't want to get into this, when I come in here, it's going to be a big fight. I would like backup, so I want these guys to be able to come here sooner, and then because of the rules on the initiative track, I can tarry here really as long as I want until they've cleared that tile. So what I'm going to have her do is search and try to find that cheese cache. And I'm going to do the same thing with Collin. And he does find it. So everybody gets a piece of cheese. That was just the wrong button. Okay. And now we might look at how much cheese I have and try to divvy it up. He's got 1, she's got 2. Tilda has 5. Collin's likely to get 1 when we go into the next room. If we reset initiative, she's guaranteed to get 2 when she comes down. So I think I'll have Collin just grab 1 of Tilda's cheese, maybe. And that's about it. But that's his turn. Maginos now is going to face the same decision. I don't want to put much cheese on the wheel. But once again, if I'm reading that right, as soon as after he goes, the Rat Warrior is going to go. So Maginos, I think, is just going to move down here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And he'll trade with Filch. Taking a piece of cheese. He'll take 2. And he will spend 1. I still think it's better to lower his defense rather than add to my attack. So he's going to lower his defense by 1 with Meeps. And hit once. Therefore killing the rat. Alright, so this tile is cleared for now. But we're going to start running out of time as we go. However, Maginos has that teleport scroll, and it's a free action to use it. So on the end of his turn, he's going to teleport these mice over here. Voila. All right. And then I think he's going to... He might trade to get that Whisker Froth back from Filch. Yeah. Okay. We come now to Nez. And yeah, actually we're free of enemies. So I'm going to have Lily at the end of the round move us on, because we're going to reset the initiative, which means I'm going to allow Tilda and Filch to get a couple of searches in before we do that. So Nez is just going to sit here. We got nobody to heal or worry about. Everybody's got a little bit of cheese here, so he's just going to hang out. Tilda will search. Come down here. She's going to trade with Collin and give Collin a couple of cheese. And then she's going to search and find something. The Intense Cowering card is potentially pretty useful. I'm not super cheese poor, so I think I'll hang on to that. That could save somebody's life in the next room. And then Filch will search as well. Doesn't find anything. So we come to Lily, who moves that party on. And you move to a space that's adjacent to one of the to the exit, so it's here or here, basically. You could argue here, maybe. But my friends are coming in over here, so I'm going to put them right here. Nobody else is going to be doing any more searching, I don't think. So I'm just going to clear all of the search markers. And let's clear the chat and take a look at the special rules for the forge tile. All right, so here's the forge. And there's really two main things to worry about here. One is, first of all, the special surge. So this is going to keep recurring, first of all. But it's capped and versed. So the nice thing about this is if he comes in, you might be able to remove Rat Warriors if you kill him. The bad news is, of course, he's potentially got a lot of damage output because of his special ability. But it's also only one enemy, so it's not the best surge in the world, not the worst. But it will keep showing up if you tarry too long on the map. Special setup is interesting here. When exploring the forge, reveal an encounter card normally. So you get the enemies, you place the enemies, you shuffle initiative, etc. After revealing and placing minions on the first encounter card, immediately reveal a second encounter card. If all the minion entry spaces are full, use coal pile spaces as additional minion entry spaces. Now again, this is a little bit ambiguous, but it seems like reveal an encounter card normally. That means you do it like you normally do, which means you shuffle initiative as part of that. Then you immediately do a second one, which would mean that if you're adding initiative cards, you're putting them on the bottom because there are already enemies on the initiative track. That's how I read that. I could be wrong, but it's a slight advantage to the party because it's making the second group of enemies, if they have different cards, guaranteed to be going last in initiative, which is an advantage, of course. But that does seem to be how it's printed, and that seems to be maybe possibly the intention. The only other rule here is a special story moment which takes place when you explore the forge, and it's basically they have discovered that there's this big ugly crab monstrosity thing, which they've already seen in their visions, that the rats are building here in the forge that you want to get rid of, basically. So you've confirmed the threat, you see what it looks like. You're not going to do anything about it just yet, but you're reconnoitering, you've found the threat, you've learned about it, and that was the point of this chapter. But you got to get out of here with your lives, which means clear this forge before you can get out of here. Right, so here we are. Lily, I always mix their names up. Lily has explored. We're on a new tile, so automatically she's gaining 2 cheese. We don't know yet about Collin, but we are going to draw our first encounter card. And we are on page 4, so it is 3 rats, and it's an ambush card, unfortunately. But that is what it is. So we're going to add the rats to initiative. We're going to add 3 rats to the map. There are 3 entry spaces, so we put them 1, 2, and 3. The surge on that is 2 rats, but we have a special surge here, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so we then shuffle initiative. Collin is not first, so he is going to add a piece of cheese. The rats get to roll a die and move up in virtue of it being an ambush card. So they move up 2 spaces. And we are going to begin with Tilda, but we still have to draw our second encounter card and see what that entails. And that is 2 elite rats and 3 roaches. That's interesting. Okay, so they get added to the bottom. And they get spread out as well onto the various entry spaces. Now you can put them, actually the elites go on the furthest entry space, which I guess means here, although these are probably tied. And then the melee ones are the ones you are required to spread out. So I'm going to say that means we put 2 here and 1 here. Now, importantly, if I didn't read it out, but if you run out of space, so for instance, if this had been 1 centipede and 3 rats, or 1 spider, we would have had a large minion which couldn't have gone on any of those entry spaces. In that event, you use the coal piles as additional entry spaces, and that rule there is so that you can't, get lucky and not have to face many enemies. But as you can see, this is a big, ugly fight. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 enemies, and there are 3 different types of enemies, so it's not like set trap or a slow scroll is really going to buy us a whole lot here. It is a bunch of rats, though. The problem is we're really close to triggering a surge, so we are pretty likely to be seeing Verst coming into this room. The good news, though, is Tilda, Nez, Lily, and Filch are all going to get to go before the bad guys do. So let's just clear this chat window, and let's dive in. So Tilda obviously is going to want to try to stay away from these guys as much as possible while still doing some damage over here. Now the roaches are the least threat because we got a decent amount of cheese here serving as extra hit points. Killing rats with Filch would potentially bring these cheese wedges off of the wheel, but he's not going to be suffering from a lack of rat targets. So I think I'm going to come over here and attack the biggest threat that we're facing right now, which would be, well, these guys would be biggest, but I'm going to steer clear of them. And I'm going to try to kill this guy right here. That's 2 hits versus his 2 defense. He doesn't block anything, doesn't cheese the wheel. We're off to a good start. That's Tilda's turn. I don't think she wants to trade anything just yet, back and forth. So I think that's going to be her turn. Now Nez and party are still over here, but in virtue of that teleport scroll, we're right here. So Nez can use the explore action to move us over here. The bad news is Nez, in virtue of that, has used his action and cannot attack. But what he can do, potentially, if I want to risk it, is move him up here and try to absorb some of these attacks. These guys are pretty much all coming for this party here, which is going to get ugly fast. Set trap is an action, so he can't do anything there. He can't attack, so there's nothing he could do. Holding back, these guys are going to be able to reach us no matter what. So he might as well try to be heroic and save Maginos. because what else could he possibly do, really? Lily at this point, what do I want to have her do? I'm not worried about that roach. I'm more worried about these guys ganging up on these guys over here. So I think what Lily wants to do is, yeah. Oh, you know what? I forgot to use her preemptive shot. I'm going to allow her to do that. It's retconning, but I don't really have a big advantage in virtue of knowing anything more than I did. Otherwise, I'm going to have her fire at one of those elite rats to try to take them out. So she's going to spend 1 cheese on that for her preemptive shot. That's 2 hits versus his 2 defense. He dies, but he... Oh, that's beautiful. So he not only doesn't block anything, but he gives her 2 cheese because of that. That's like the one virtue of Lily right now without a better weapon. She's only rolling 2 attack dice, but they can't cheese the wheel. And in fact, she gains cheese. So her preemptive shot took out an elite rat and gained her a piece of cheese. That's very nice. So on her turn, I'm going to have her spend 2 cheese to fire an accurate shot at the other elite rat, meaning he would roll 0 defense dice. So she just has to hit him once. And she didn't, but she got her cheese back. So she's back to where she was at the start of the map, and she's taken out a rat. So, not great, but not horrible. I think what I might want to do is have her move over here and spread out some of the damage in case these guys do get swarmed by the bad guys over here. She's going to move over here. Well, let's make sure she can. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. And then Filch most definitely is going to attack the, I guess, the elite rat, just because he's rolling more dice and there's more chance of adding cheese to the wheel. There's really no other reason other than that. Although Maginus is going to be able to go before that rat does. So he's going to attack the regular rat. He's rolling 3 attack dice. And he gets only bows, unfortunately. So he's going to spend 2 cheese on Energy Rush. Because I got to take some of these guys out. Wow. All right. Go Filch. He stubbed his toe a little bit there on that turn. Okay, this Rat Warrior can't fail to move onto this space and then attack Nez with 2 attacks. Those both hit. He's rolling 3 defense. He gets 2 cheese, but he does take a wound. The other rat can move 3 spaces. He then is going to attack the highest in initiative in that closest space, which would be Lily. That's 2 hits. She blocks 1 and therefore takes 1 wound. And that's all the regular Rat Warriors. We move on from their turn and we move them up. Collin. Gosh. Collin could run up and attack. Yeah, here's what Collin's going to do. Collin's going to move here. I'm pretty sure he can't fail to do it. He's going to move here. He'll absorb some roach attacks, but he's got cheese, so I'm not worried about that. He could attack this elite rat, which I do want to do, and I could trade for the Ring of Cat Strength from Filch and attack with 4 dice. But that's 4 dice versus 2 defense. Whereas if I instead spend a cheese on Filch to attack... Oh, I can't do that if he's moved. So I'll just do that. Yep. I will take that ring from Filch and equip that sucker. I shouldn't have kept that poison cheese card. That doesn't do anything. Yeah. Okay. So he's now attacking for 4, just like Nez, and he's going to go after that elite rat. Wow. Okay. Maginos. How are we doing for cheese here? We've got Nez and Lily have a bunch of cheese. Nez has a bunch of cheese. I need to start taking some of these enemies off the table. I'm going to trade with Nez. Am I? No. No. Who had the, here's what I'm going to do. Somebody, yes, Lily has the Scorching Wand. Here's what I'm going to do. Okay. I don't need to trade cheese. I'm going to spend one cheese on Meeps against the Elite Rat. I'm going to trade with Lily, and I'll let her keep that cheese. I'm going to take the Scorching Wand, and I will equip the Scorching Wand, unequipping the staff, and then I'm going to, let's double check this as well, Whisker Froth. You can use the elixir anytime during your turn to remove all effect markers. Okay. So it's a free action to use Whisker Froth, just for future reference. But I've reduced this guy's defense to 1 die, and in virtue of having the Scorching Wand, I can attack with 3 ranged attack dice against him. So I'm going to do that. Hitting twice, that's a guaranteed kill. He did not cheese the wheel, which means the Elite Rats are gone before they got a chance to go. And that is Maginos' turn. The thing I was pondering there previously was possibly using Chain Lightning to try to take some of these guys out. But I really wanted to make sure I got that rat. I didn't want to spend a lot of cheese, because especially cheese's hit points versus these guys. Not too worried about a couple of rats, really. And the roaches with cheese on the table aren't that much of a threat either. So once I've whittled down those rat numbers, this fight's looking a lot less scary, especially having not put any cheese on the wheel. Alright, we come now to the roaches. This guy is going to move to the closest, which I guess is Collin. 1, 2, 1, 2. You're not... I don't think that you can move from here to here. So it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I think they're going to go for the closest that they can, which would be towards Nez, and attack Nez. He puts a cheese on the wheel and hits Nez for 1. Nez rolls 3 defense dice and blocks the hit at least. Now this guy goes for the next highest in initiative that hasn't been attacked yet. That is closest, which means Lily. For 1 hit, which gets blocked. And this guy just goes over to the closest, which is Tilda, and misses her completely. So that's the roaches. We come around to Tilda. Who I think is less worried about that roach and more worried about people getting hurt over here. So I think she's going to see if she can reach them. 1, 2. She's now adjacent to everybody, and I think she's going to spend her 2 cheese to heal these guys each for 1. Keep everybody shipshape. Nez now can swing away, and he's just going to go for that rat so that he can roll 4 dice. That's 2 hits. 1 block, that's a dead rat. And otherwise I think he's going to stay where he is. Lily now. Will... yeah, no reason to do much except fire at the rat, I guess. and miss. The rat then will attack the closest that's highest in initiative. That would be Nez for 1 hit, which is not blocked, giving Nez 1 wound. That's done, moves up. Filch now is going to try to kill that rat. And I'm going to be cheesy and I'm going to trade with Collin. And I'm going to get that ring back. And I'm going to equip the ring. And then I'm going to attack that rat for only 1 hit. Now he is rolling 2 defense, unfortunately. So he does block and cheese the wheel. That was not good. And again, more bows. Well, I don't know what it is in the style. I can't get lucky. All right. And I should have gotten rid of that cheese cache thing as well. So discard search. There we go. All right. Collin will grab the ring back. And therefore roll 4 versus the rat. 2 hits. Okay. So that rat is killed. But we have cheesed the wheel. So we bump the page up to 5. I'm less worried about the time constraint here. And all we have is a few roaches to go with Versed. But Versed is a ranged enemy who's going to be going pretty soon. But ranged enemies you put on the farthest entry space that you can. So he's just going to go right there. And that, I believe, is Collin's turn. He's going to move 1 away so that Tilda can draw fire because, again, she's rolling more defense dice. Maginos. Now, Versed on top of everything else is a 3/3 opponent, so Maginos. The good news is he doesn't move. Unless he doesn't have a target, but he will. So Maginos is going to spend a cheese. He's going to have to trade to get it first. So he's going to trade with Nez. No, he's going to trade with Collin. And he's going to take 2 of Collin's cheese. He's going to spend 1 to apply Meeps to Versed. And I'll just put a little note on there. There we go. There's a little ladybug icon on there. Haha, isn't that cute? Okay, so he's been Meepsed. And then he will fire, and again with the Scorching Wand, he's firing 3 attack dice. He gets 4 cheese, because he rolled 2. And 1 hit versus his 2 defense, which does get blocked. We come now to the roaches. These guys will not move. They will attack Nez and then Lily in order. Miss versus Nez. And Miss versus Lily, but they add 1 cheese to the wheel. Not that it probably matters too much. Okay. And then this guy can only move 1 space. So we come to Versed, who will target the closest mouse, which is Tilda. He fires 3 ranged attacks. He did not roll a bow star. He didn't roll cheese when attacking. And as a result, he does not get a bonus attack. He rolled 1 hit versus Tilda's 3 defense. So she blocks the attack, and Versed is done. The rat wires are gone. So it's Tilda's turn. And I think she's just going to close with Versed and try to take this guy out. It's 1 hit. Again, because of Meeps, he's only rolling 2 defense. But he did block, unfortunately. Nez can move 3 spaces, which does allow him to go 1, 2, 3, and try to swing away at Verst as well. That's a piece of cheese for Nez. It is 2 hits versus 2 defense. So we put a cheese on the wheel, but he did take his first wound, and he only has 3 hit points. Now Lily, I think I'm going to have her shoot at Verst, and I'm going to have her use her accurate shot ability so that he is rolling 0 defense dice against her in conjunction with the Meeps ability. So she just has to roll a couple of bows. She rolls 1 bow, so he does take a wound. Alright, go Lily. And she's got no reason to really move anywhere. Filch. Filch is going to trade with Collin. I'm being really obnoxious about this, I realize, but he's going to grab that ring. Equip said ring. He will move 1, 2, 3 spaces, and with Meeps and being higher in initiative than Verst, he is rolling 1 defense dice versus Filch's 3 melee dice. Filch rolls 3 hits. That is a dead Verst. He did not cheese the wheel, so Verst is Gonzville. Filch gains a cheese. Oops, I didn't mean to put that on the wheel. I don't know why I did that. Verst, I think, is a rat, so I believe that means he takes it off of the wheel when he gives it to Filch. Could be wrong because he's a boss or something, but I don't recall any rules about that. So now we come to Collin, and we're in pretty good shape here. We could still trigger a surge and get Verst back in here, but we only have a few roaches to kind of mop up, and then we're actually done. We still have 3 pages to work with. So we're actually in okay shape here. Yeah, so Collin is going to swing away at a roach. That's a dead roach. How much cheese do I have? I have 1, 2, I've got 4, 6, 11, wow, 17 cheese. So I'm really close to getting 18, which means I could get 3 level ups. So I'm not going to spend cheese on give order or anything like that. I'm going to have Maginos attack, and I'm not going to spend cheese on Meeps because they're only rolling 1 defense die anyway. And I'll go ahead and attack that guy. Okay. He's up to 9 cheese, but he did miss completely. So the roaches get to go. This guy will move here and attack. Who's higher, Collin or Lily? Lily is higher. Not that it matters. 2 hits versus Lily, who does have 2 cheese on her. Okay, so she blocks 1 hit. She gains a cheese, which is then lost. It does not go on the wheel because they're not greedy, so that is effectively 2 blocks. And this guy will move to the closest, and the highest there is Tilda. He whiffs completely. It is Tilda's turn, so she'll try to squish him. That's 2 hits. That's a dead roach. He didn't cheese the wheel, so he's gone. And Tilda's done and not worried, but she will get onto that space to draw fire in the event that it's needed. Nez You know what? Nez is going to search. Oh my goodness. That would have been really bad. Play immediately if there's a scamp of the party. Remove 2 cheese from this mouse's stash unless the mouse is the scamp. In that case, add 2 cheese to the mouse's stash. But because of the thimble helm that he's wearing, he ignores that. So he discards that and draws again. He got the shifting cloak. Oh, that's interesting. It's for the Mystic or the Scamp, and it increases their armor, which is really nice. So I could have Filch rolling 3 defense or something. Unfortunately, Filch already has an item I would prefer to have him with. So does Maginos. So as nice as that is, I think I'm going to discard it for cheese because I don't really need it for the rest of this tile. And it's not, I'd rather have a piece of cheese, I guess. All right, Lily. Now how much cheese do I have? 4, 6, 15, 16, 22. Okay. Well, she's just going to, yeah, she'll just fire regularly at this guy. Or will she search? Let's see. He's got the cat strength. So the only person who really doesn't have something that's awesome is Lily. I would like to get her a better item. Maybe she'll search. Filch will definitely search because he has the cheese for the find ability. Alright, we're definitely going to do that. Let's see if we can get Lily an item that's worth keeping for her. Unfortunately, we did not. Breastplate is no good to anybody. Grape we don't care about, so we'll just grab the cheese cache. Each mouse on the same tile. So I did turn that 2 cheese into 6 cheese, which I guess is something, because I'm pretty sure now we are up to over 24, which means I got 4 level ups coming, and I think I'll be happy with that at this point. So I think at this point, rather than draw this out for too long, I got 4, 7, 17, 19, 26. Yeah. I'll just have Collin swing away. He gains a cheese and only 1 hit. But it wasn't blocked, so that roach is killed. Collin stands victorious upon his corpse, and we have managed to complete Chapter 4. We got to the forge, we cleared it of enemies, we have reconnoitered and found out about the monstrosity, and we have 4 level ups coming as part of our cleanup, but I also want to make sure that the items people are keeping are where they need to be, so I'm going to give that ring back to Collin from Filch. Filch enjoyed using it, but he's going to keep the bow, allowing Collin to have that ring, which he will equip. Let's check out everybody's inventory here. He's got the breastplate, the cat strength, and the throwing daggers. So he's going to get rid of the throwing daggers. There's no reason to give that to Lily. So he'll just go ahead and toss those. Nobody really wants to keep them. So that's Collin. He's got the accurate bow. I got to get rid of the cheese cache. Lily has intense cowering. But we also have the whisker froth. We've got intense cowering here. We've got tail link. He's got to get rid of the fish scale because he can only keep 1 of these, and he wants the thimble home. Okay, so let's get rid of Nez's fish scale. Because, again, Lily can't wear it. And I think Lily's going to get rid of intense cowering in virtue of keeping the whisker froth that Maginos has been porting around. So he's good, she's good, they're good. I just want to get rid of a couple tail link and intense cowering on Tilda's part, and we'll be all set. Okay. So now I've got, I'm pretty sure I have at least 24 cheese amongst the party. We gained a lot of cheese on that tile. And as a result, I can get 4 level ups. So I want to see kind of who needs it. I mean, we're all pretty good. Obviously, Maginos is good. I'm going to get Lily, Collin, Tilda, and Nez each one because the other guys have 3 or more each. So I'll go ahead and do that. Let's start with Lily, see what she needs. Power Shot's useful at times. Spend 3 cheese to add 2. Aimed Shot, spend 1 cheese to add 1. And Keen Eye, guarantee that you find something for 1 cheese. That's very handy for when you need a special search and you really want it, you really need to get it done. Generally speaking, if she has cheese to blow, I usually give her Accurate Shot rather than one of the others. So I'm going to grab Keen Eye. That's 1. Let's look at what Tilda has available to her. She's got Fortify, which is only a healer, and Thunder Squeak, which is her or Collin or Nez. But it requires using a blunt weapon. So it's really not Collin. It's either her or Nez. All minions in the same space as this mouse are affected by the attack. You roll the defense separately for each minion, but basically you can attack multiple enemies, and the cost is the number of enemies in the space. So in order for it to be useful, you're spending at least 2, but you could spend potentially 3 cheese to attack 3 guys. It's rarely used, however, but it's just as good for her with the warding staff as it is for Nez with his regular weapon, because you attack people in the same space. So they're both rolling 3. Nez has a lot more options available to him, but I think I might just give her Fortify, which seems more generally useful. And this says that you use this ability anytime during your turn. All mice on the same tile add 1 to their defense until your next turn. So you spend 2 cheese and everybody gets to add 1. So in those rare situations when you're getting swarmed and you're really worried about people, you can really increase your defensive capabilities for 2 cheese. I'll grab that just as a hedge against disaster. Now let's take a look at what Collin has available to him. I still haven't taken Inspire, which is a pretty good option. We have Backslash as well. Now, you have to be using a sharp melee weapon, so that rules out really Nez and Tilda. Could be useful for Filch, except Filch is a warrior, or isn't warrior, so really this is only useful for Collin. It's a free attack once in a while. Inspire is very cheese heavy. He could also take Thunder Squeak potentially and have it be just as good, but again you need a blunt weapon, so it's really not good for him. Feint, you have to have multiple weapons equipped. That's rare for him. Protect is good, but it's the mice on your same space increase their defense a little bit. Resolve is pretty good, but it's again only for you. I think I'm going back and forth between Inspire and Backslash. Inspire is just so cheese heavy, and you can only use it when you're higher in initiative, so I think I'm going to go with Backslash. And then Nez, my boy, you are going to get, you have Resolve, but you're rolling 2 defense now. But you've also got Protect as an ability. That can save everybody in your space. Battle Squeak is kind of useful. He's not going to use Feint. This is a tough call. I think I'm going to give him Protect so he can kind of altruistically help people in the same space as him in the event that they need to defend. It's a relatively cheap skill as well. Alright, so that's 4 abilities. Everybody in the party has at least 3. Collin has what I think is his best item. Lily has nothing very useful. She's got the Whisker Froth, but I'm really worried about getting her an item that she can use. Best item for Tilda in my mind. Best item for Nez in my mind. Best item for Maginos in my mind, or one of them. If he gets lucky, or if somebody gets lucky in the party and finds there's an item that gives him a +1 to his lore. I think it's called the Lucky Skull Cap or something. He's rolling 4 for free every time he attacks, which is very nice. But you can only keep 1 item. And then, of course, Filch still has his bow. So Collin lost his shield last time, but he replaced it with the cat strength, which I'd rather have anyway. Because he's running around rolling 4 dice to attack. So really, I'm in pretty good shape here. Everybody's got a bunch of abilities. Lily has lacking the item. That's really my big concern right now. Just try to get her an item. So I might want to keep using her just to get an item into her hands. But other than that, I'm in pretty good shape. And we have managed to complete Chapter 4, the Forging of the Beast. We've discovered the evil that lurks in the bowels of the castle. We have reconnoitered it. We've scattered the enemy before us, sent Verst scurrying into the coal pile with his tail between his grubby little legs. And as a result, we now know what we're facing. We can start hatching plans to try to foil Venestra's evil machinations. And we are in good shape to continue on heroically into the future with Chapter 5. All right, I hope that was enjoyable for you. Certainly was for me. And you got to see how this chapter plays out, how a party split works in this game. Pretty sure I did all that correctly. I'm going to double check some of the rules, maybe poke around a little bit online, some of those minutia. But as far as I read the rules, that we the stuff that really matters, the initiative management and everything like that, I think we're doing that right. So hopefully you learned a little bit of something on how this works. You had fun watching us crush bad guys, and maybe learned a little bit of strategy along the way. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today. Fight true, brave mice, and I will catch you on the next one. Take care.